Hello everybody and welcome. We're here for Ultimate League. This is the 9th round of Season 13, the Canadian Grand Prix at the Vancouver Street Circuit. This is our dusk race. You can see the yellow tinge of the street lamps as they start to come on and light up these city streets next to the harbour. An unorthodox pit lane at this circuit. It goes across the second and third sector of the track rather than start-finish straight. And an unorthodox man beside me, Kubo. Welcome back to the Combox.
Hello. First lap of qualifying underway. Nandy on provisional pole.
He is indeed. As you can see on the recording, JT currently lining up second as it stands, but only one lap done. It's difficult to tell. We've got our Triple G in 15th, 16th and 17th. It's Gorlomi, Guetzli and Grandi. Gorlomi making his debut in Ultimate League, has just signed as the Flow Force reserve driver and is racing for RMC today. Kraft goes on to provisional pole. Would that be his first of his career? Or has he taken one before?
I believe it might be. He's had some banging qualifyings before, but he's not started on pole position, though. And Alton, I believe he was provisionally on pole until the final lap, something like that.
Yeah.
So final lap now.
Phenomenal race there, phenomenal qualifying from him. Can he hold on to that provisional pole position? It looks like he will be able to. And Kraft and Lynx Racing take pole position here in Vancouver around this street circuit. Hernandi will start second on the front row. Marian Frias starts third ahead of I Stole These Words in fourth. Then it's Jaruni in fifth. And of course, Nuno returning at his Scuderia Paracaro. Sixth place for him. Fantastic to see him back on the grid, but he'll be a little bit disappointed with the qualifying. He tied JT for 6th and 7th position. It was it looks like 8 different teams in the top 9, which is pretty impressive. Oh no, not quite. Corvid in 8th, Danimator in 9th ahead of Figuera in 10th position, also racing for SCP in his first race as a full-time driver. Sobel starts 11th ahead of Matima, then Enigma in for Mayhem, Anti ahead of Gorlomi, Guetzli, Urist and Grandi starts last on the grid. The entire field separated by just 2/3 of a second. Wow, what a qualifying. Kubo, your opinions on that?
Well, nice to see double top 10 in qualifying for SCP and BAR and FGR. So great stuff for them today. And also Gorlomi on the debut, 15th, tied for 14th with Anti, is very impressive.
Absolutely, yeah. Things to watch out for. So Jaruni with one of, if not his highest qualifying of the season. Nuno back in 6th position. It's an interesting track for him to return on. This will be his first race since he shared the win of the Monaco Grand Prix with Nomskar at the end of season 11. He's never raced for SCP before, so this is a nice first time for him, and they've got a double Portuguese driver lineup with Figuera also in there. Probably the most exciting driver lineup on the grid that they've sort of lucked into for these final 2 races. So it should be really interesting. Good qualifying from BAR as well. Hernandi beating Sobel by quite a long way. There was a few tenths between them, but that's all it needed to be for 9 positions difference in the end. Kraft starting from pole position. That's got to be Lynx's first pole since, well, back in season 10 at least. Oh, just about to pop the standings up, but no, we'll go straight in to the racing action. Good luck, have fun, and let's get going here in Vancouver. 5 lights ahead of the drivers. We're underway. Almost everyone starting on the soft, apart from JT, Guetzli, and Juris. Kraft leads it to turn 1. Hernandi tucks into the slipstream there. Marion just looking comfortable in 3rd place. When will we see our first move? It looks like Nuno's already gone past Jaruni. Somebody dropping back in the background there. Danimator and Figuera going side by side. They shuffle through this tight section, the opposite streets as they go along. Jaruni and Nuno and Danimator all hard into the wall. Gorlomi up alongside Jaruni already. Great start from the driver. Kraft with Marion now in 2nd place, and Nadi ahead of I Stole These Words. Figuera up 5 positions from the race start, and Enigma up 6 or 7. Fantastic from him. Nuno's lost out a couple positions. He's just ahead of Danimator now. Corvid there. Danny around the outside. Gorlomi and Sobel will double through. Will Nuno back out of this one? He'll have to. No, he'll just stick it in around the outside. The most successful driver in the history of the league versus the debutant here today. And Nuno did come out ahead in that particular fight, while we have the battle for the lead ever raging on. Figuera with a fantastic position at the moment, and Enigma also massively up as well. He said he was retiring, he didn't in the end. Oh, Figueroa with Marion hard into the wall. The Iberian scrapping there. Hernani around the outside, and Kraft still leads. Corvid and Sobel tangling a little bit in the background. Kubo.
Absolute chaos, and look at Sobel's fastest lap at 26.60, probably with the help of some slipstream as well, but that is 3/10 faster than the world record, and that is definitely the fastest lap we've seen set. That is crazy fast.
Some low downforce setups going on for this circuit, with a lot of straights and probably about 2 braking zones. Do need to carry the speed through those high speed corners though. Sobel, the man who is fastest in the lap counter, in the lap times rather. Not amazing position for him at the moment. He's only made up 1 spot into 10th position at the moment. Nuno is our big dropper back from the start. He's down into 11th. Jaruni also down into 13th. 2 Grandy's up a few positions. There's a big FLF sandwich going on there. Doesn't that sound delicious? Kraft still leads. It's Hernandi, then Figueroa. Are they in the slipstream of Marion Frias? We'll get a closer look at this. Doesn't look like it. Marion and Kraft will really be wanting to just keep that as it is, because if Marion even drops back a little bit, she'll be giving the slipstream there to Hernandi and Figueroa behind. You've got a big train behind Corvid, who is, with his ping, notoriously difficult to overtake, and that has clearly led to some issues further back.
Marion overtakes.
Marion gets through on Kraft. We've got some drivers into pit lane already. It's Eurus. No, it's not. It's I Stole These Words, and it's Anti. And Nuno is in already. His first pit stop back into racing. Let's see how that does him. With a big early undercut. Can he get...
It's a very short pit, 4 seconds. Undercuts can be extremely powerful here if done right. So yeah, we'll see how that ends up for him.
Exactly. We've got a Mayhem double stack in the pits at the moment. Sobel also in. Where will these guys shuffle out? It looks like it'll be... the pit lane does confuse the positions quite a bit. Enigma down into last place, unfortunately for him, but that is behind... Well, behind a fair few drivers he wouldn't want to be behind at this point, to be honest, because he did have such a good start, and now he's just fallen back that little bit. You can see the drivers coming across in the opposite direction over the bridge, and now in the race lead. No, we have Hernandi going into the pit lane, which does sort of give you the race lead, albeit for a little bit. Figueroa now left by himself, running in 3rd position. This would be a fantastic podium for him to take. If he were to take it, we'll pop up the driver standings now just for a second. In fact, I'll move them down to the lower corner. Figueroa, as you can see, has only taken a 13th place finish for the BAR team so far in his career, and he's looking at prospects of a much, much better one today. Is that something that's realistically attainable? We don't know, but...
Nandi with the undercut. Nandi manages to get in front of Marion and Kraft by pitting a lap early.
That is huge. He's gotten himself right into that slipstream train. He puts in a fastest lap of his personal best lap of the race so far with a 26.95. And he has gotten himself up into that slipstream train. Corvid now piles into the pit lane. He was the final driver out in that lead pack to not have come in. Gorlomi also in and in behind. It's really difficult to keep track of. Eurus and Grandy both in. I believe they both started on the medium compound of tyre. JT and Gwetsley still out there on that medium, still having not pitted. They love a bit of rain right now, I'll tell you that much for free. Hernandi and Marion side by side for the lead. Will Hernandi stick it in up the inside? It looks like he will. He's still going for it to the outside of the right-hander, up into the final couple turns. He's just going to have to sit back into the slipstream. Kraft was leading, down to 3rd. JT up into 4th position, having not taken his pit stop yet, his first stop of the race. But we've got a 3-car battle for the lead, and Kraft looking at prospects of yet another podium for himself, but crucially maybe, just maybe, a first win, a win for him, a win for the Lynx Racing team, who nearly have the entire grid in a Lynx sandwich, as you can see Eurus going through in last place across the bridge. JT now into the pit lane, off the mediums, onto the hards. Fascinating strategies, really trying to be the special one. The top 3 still just slipstream each other. Nuno behind I Stole These Words at the moment. Corvid, Anti and Gwetsley all in there. Gwetsley got his first top 10 finish last time out at Niagara with a wonderful P7. He led a lot of laps that race. And he's going to be looking to double down on that today. Figueroa going through. We've got some drivers in the pit lane now. It's Danny and Gwetsley both in for Mayhem and Flowforce respectively. It's Girouni just ahead of Matty at the moment. He inherits 10th position with those drivers coming into pit lane. JT, he's a bit of an enigma in this race with the hard compound tyre, just looking to pick up as much slipstream as he can off soft runners. How do you think that's going to go for him, Kuba?
It's definitely interesting, and with him being like the only hards runner, he could potentially get a lot of benefit from as long as he keeps that slip going for as long as possible.
Jeru hard into the wall there. Sobel coming out of the pit lane. Anti and I stole these words. Just ghosting through each other a little bit there. The two men with the longest names in NATO. Going into turn 1 now.
Kraft makes a mistake, loses Nandi and Marion now. That might be an important moment in the race.
That could be pretty big. That slipstream is so important here, and you can see from the lap times being put in by the drivers who get slipstream, like Sobel's 26.60, which is not really possible with this set of regs under any normal circumstances. It's big if you lose that slipstream. And Andy just tucks in behind Marion for the time being. Corvid running in 4th. He pitted late, the last or one of the last soft runners to come in for that first stop, but he does have that advantage of the fresher tyres now. He did get past Figuera, who is on the slightly older soft, and then we've got JT and Matty battling out for 7th place. Good on you, Matty. He's not stopped a second time, but the likes of Sobel, Danny, I stole these words, Anti, Nuno and Enigma all have. Nuno down in 14th place. Welcome to season 13, son. 5-time champion, but could he do it on a cold, rainy night in Vancouver? I'll have to find out.
Well, it's not raining just yet. Hope you don't jinx. Kraft is into the pits on an undercut strat.
He's got to go for this, hasn't he? Because gaining back the slipstream will be so important, and the fact that Hernandi was able to do it in that first stint was huge. We'll take a look.
Weather marker moves.
Does it, Levy? Thank you. Graf. Oh, it's going back to sun. Lovely. A sunny night in Vancouver. It's not a phrase uttered by many, but there we go. Northern
Usually
Hemisphere.
you don't see the sun at night.
No, you tend not to see the sun at night, weirdly. Hernandi and Marion, meanwhile, have both come into the pit lane while we've been chatting nonsense. They're out in first.
Actually doesn't succeed on the undercut.
He doesn't.
He's behind Corvid.
But Corvid might be in their slip, and Kraft might get into Corvid's slip. So Corvid, this is far thinking, now he's dropped back even more on that old soft, but it's possible that he might act as the bridge of the slipstream between Kraft, Hernandi and Marion, because look at the time that Kraft has gained. He was a lot further behind than that. Look at that. I mean,
yeah, look at that, using the Australian man to his advantage.
Yeah, using the Australian man, he did. And still in 3rd place, but he's about 2nd or just under behind. If we had drag reduction system, he'd be pressing that button on every single one of Vancouver's 6 straights. I don't know if there are, I just made that up, I'm sure there's something like that. Corvid into the pit lane after helping out his teammates competitor for a little bit. Sobel, Danny and JT will all fall through, as will Nuno and Anti. Guetzli, I stole these words on Figuera, will give him a little bit of difficulty on pit exit, but Corvid uses that ghost, tries to use it to his advantage. He is in 12th as we see him, he probably sees himself up in 4th at the moment. Girouni in a bit of space by himself, ahead of Enigma, Gorlomi and Matimar going through this chicanerous section, the high-speed corners and kinks based off the Baku end of the 2nd sector, and it's an interesting part of track. You have to be careful. Enigma nearly forces Matty into the pit lane. Knowing Matty's temper, he will be fuming about that after the race. I stole these words. At pit exit now, just cuts across, doesn't adhere to the dotted white line, so that's probably a 5-second penalty coming his way if we were to do that. Sobel still runs in 11th, remarkably, but he has come in very recently for a 3rd stop. Yes, a 3rd stop.
That's very interesting, because of course we've got the constructors fight between FGR and Mayhem and Corvid and Sobel, the 2nd drivers in this race, as of course Marion and Nandi are currently, Nandi's slipping her and they're gonna fight for the win, while Corvid and Sobel are employing some really interesting strategies to try and help their team as much as possible. Sobel with the undercuts, Corvid with the overcuts.
Yes, sorry, the bell is ringing. That's the sign of a pit entry car, and it's Nuno coming into pit lane at the moment. Just making sure that people are clear from the pit lane, of course. Don't want to have any issues with that. Am I being heard alright by you, Kuba?
Yep, it looks like Kraft has dropped back a bit further now.
Great. I mean, not great for Kraft, sorry. Great about
Can't
the sound
catch on the
marking.
pace.
Yes. The disadvantage of the undercut is that you have more worn tyres on the next stint, which may sound like an obvious thing to say, but it is true, and he has lost half a second and now pretty much a whole second on our front two, who are slipping each other remarkably well. I'm not sure how many times they've switched positions, but they seem to be
It
working.
looks like none. It looks like none.
I think
like,
so.
Nandy's been following Marion just the entire time.
Yeah, it
And
seems
yeah.
to be FGR versus LSA, like you said. Oh, look at them
Oh,
going
he's
side by
looking to
side.
swap
There we go.
right now.
The old switcheroo into the final corner, lap 25 of 51.
And rain!
We're gonna have a rain, as they would say back in the day. And we're gonna get drivers into
Gorlami
pit
and
lane
Enigma,
already.
first one's in.
Wets
Then it's
for both.
Eurest.
Good on you, Eurus. Yeah, the final three drivers, all the first into pit lane. We got our race leaders coming in now. It's not a very long lap. It's only 26, 27, 28 seconds, depending on how worn your tyres are. We've got all of these drivers coming in to the lane now. No chance of pit collisions anymore, thanks to the silly ghosting. Oh, Isto getting a nice little entry there. I think he just slipped past Sobel and Girouni. They will all take very...
Eurest employing the enters, the only one to be running on the enters as the track gets wetter and wetter, heavy rain remains.
He's a big fan of the
that's really
intermediate
good.
tyre, isn't he?
Yeah, that's really good for Fox and Goose as Corvid is up into P4, Sobel down in P11 has been really foiled by this rain.
Yeah, Sobel having difficulties here. Oh, side by side up the main straight. Sanandi versus Marion. Can they keep their composure to turn 1, 2, 3 and 4? And Hernandi just thinks he has that pace and wants to get ahead of Marion. This battling, they're doing it very, very cleanly, so kudos to them. That might start losing them time to craft. We've got a huge pack in the background that I'm just going to focus on. Figueira up the inside of Anti. It's Portuguese man on the fin. JT going through just ahead of Danimator. Sobel, Girouni up the inside there. Sobel not having a great run through there. Maybe he took a bit of grass on the exit of the previous corner. Regardless, Jerry up into that position. I stole these words. 12th, we've got the FLFs. We've got Grandi, Enigma, and Gorlomi. Not running in last place. Eurist in a league of his own on the intermediate tyre. Hernandi and Marion fighting it out still. Well, not fighting too much. They realised the repercussions that would have because Kraft is so ready to pounce. But yeah, like you said,
It
so
looks like
Corvid
Nandy's
benefiting.
faster in the heavy rain right now.
Yes, the slipstream is something that is not too difficult to hang on to at Vancouver with the lack of requirement to brake, really. Oh, Figueira just sliding back across into the wall. That might have wiped out about 3 civilians. I think Anti definitely dropped back as a result of that. JT got a little bit tangled up through the harbour side section. It's Danimator just behind the fresh Portuguese racer, who's right behind the 5-time world champion, most race wins ever in Ultimate League, Nuno. Light rain is coming back, but that's not going to make the track any drier because it is still very, very wet out there, and it would continue to rain. These two, despite a little bit of battling, do look to be pulling away from Kraft, but he is absolutely going to be there to pick up the scraps, if any come through. Like you said earlier, Kubo, it's a short pit lane. What does that do in terms of rain strategy?
Well, in terms of rain, you're more likely to come in if it's a short pit lane because you won't lose much if it turns out to be fake rain. So in that case, it's less risky to pit for wet or intermediate tires when it's a short pit lane.
That sounds about right. And Andy still leads. He's just putting a lap on Eurus now. Kraft going through here. There was some murmurs just in the week building up to the race that with the pit lane being as short as it is, if you were finishing off the race, let's say, and this has happened before, I know Hernandi won in Greece famously under these circumstances, Sobel in Alton Park as well, the LSA seem to make a habit of it. If you're on very, very worn out slicks on a soaking wet track, but there's one lap to go, you can't come in, you've just got to firm it out. Oh, we see Marion go for a half move up there. Would it be reasonable to attempt to just drive through the pit lane rather than taking
Yes.
the corners?
Oh, like not even paying for tires.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It would be very...
I think-
Oh, side-by-side Corvin and Nuno, and I think Nuno got squeezed a little bit there. It'd be very specific circumstances, but that would be immensely funny. We saw a driver earlier in the CL sprint race, I can't recall who it was now, but they pitted for wets during the sprint, which is not normally a pit stop race. And that did seem to work out for them. They got ahead of the drivers on their pace. JT, our first driver in for the slick tyre. So yeah, that just sort of emphasises the short pit lane it's an interesting one. See,
we've got 16 laps until the end, so I feel most drivers will just try and do softs 8, maybe a soft 7 and 9.
Marion stayed out.
Undercut.
Marion stayed out.
And
oh, the track's
is
dry.
on the hard.
The track is dry. This is fascinating. Kraft was in.
You know why
Go on.
You know what I've heard that on this track a lot of people just forgot to pet a lap. They missed a lap where they were meant to pet, and that might have happened to Marion here because of the pit stop, of course, not being at the very end of a lap.
Is this gonna cost her? Hernandi through the final corner, and Marion Frias has lost the slipstream and is dead in the middle, 1.4 seconds away from the driver ahead and behind as she came down that straight. This may have just swung the race massively in Hernandi's favour. I think you're absolutely right about that. The pit lane being in an unconventional position means that Hernandi, on that critical outlap, was able to absolutely blast through, and Marion had to go through some of the corners that, albeit you're not braking in the first and second sectors all too much, but you need to be on the right tyre, you need to have the grip, because the high-speed corners are not going to be forgiving if you're on a tyre that just slides you wide into the wall or that green patch of grass. She needs a hell of a drive in these final couple stints to make it back up on Hernandi, or get lucky with rain, but she definitely needs to try a different strategy. That's what I'd gamble on for her.
Yeah, I have to say, though, she is catching. She just caught 3 tenths. Hernandi needs to be careful, needs to keep on the pace, because the race win is not yet certain for him, and Marion will have an advantage of lap fresher tyres, so it might have been on purpose for all we know if she thought she could take this risk. Sobel in 17th after picking the hards. Really not good for LSA trying to catch up to FGR. They already lost 26 whole points to FGR in round 8 because of Sobel's game crashing on the start of the race, and now they are 28 points behind. And Sobel's current position is horrible news for LSA if they want to continue to try and bring that fight to FGR.
They will be bitterly disappointed. Sobel, who took pole in Niagara when we raced it 4 seasons ago, didn't even get off the line to start the United States Grand Prix. It was an engine failure on his grid spot, as you say, a game crash or whatever that means. Corvid in the slipstream of Nuno at the moment on that medium. That's going to be an interesting one, see how that plays out. Definitely, if you're on a harder compound and you're in the slipstream of a soft running driver, it's good to see that. That's good news for you. Interestingly, we've got Kraft lapping Uris, the man with this is his 89th race, I believe, in Ultimate League, being lapped by a teammate much junior to him. But Kraft a very promising talent, definitely. Where do you see Kraft next season?
I think Kraft is going to be one of those top drivers, Class A, and if he has a good teammate, they can go for that constructors title.
Hernandi in.
Sure.
This is big.
Quite early. He did 7-9. He's going for 9 laps at the end.
Can you explain why you do that rather than 8-8? Is it to cover off an undercut from Marion?
Well, an undercut means that if you get a fast outlap, you can gain some extra time, and in this case, he would gain some more time to Marion behind, to hopefully cover her off from slip. And she is pitting this lap, so she only has the advantage of a lap. A lap fresher tires.
Nuno takes the inters. We've got light rain and Nuno's on the intermediates. Is it going to be fake rain? I presume. I don't think he was in pit entry when the rain was called, but it's entirely possible. I mean, if Marion and Kraft had been a second slower and Andy's coming in, he's not going to risk it.
Marion's
in. Kraft stays out! Yes! Get in there, son. The rain was fake. Hernandi goes for the inters. He's going to have to be back in. There's no way. So Marion did pit, but came out on the softs. Kraft didn't pit, and currently is in the net lead of this race. Nuno, I feel he might have had to pit or something, but he took the Inters. I think he was at the end of his previous stint, so he was going to gamble it either way, because if you're on a fresh soft, you can deal with these conditions a lot better. But Hernandi into the pit lane, into that first pit box, and as you see him go down, trundling at 50 miles an hour down the pit lane, he comes out in third position, a race that looks so short for him. Once he broke away from Marion due to the previous rain, has been blown wide open, and you can hear the bell ringing again for all the cars. It's Enigma, it's Sobel into the pit lane now, drivers flooding back in off that Inter and back on to some slick tyres. The fake rain got them in the end. Unbelievable.
Very important to note that Kraft pitted earlier, of course, and he's on lap older tires than Marion, I believe. Marion pitted again
No, same lap.
when she came into the... no, not Marion and Kraft.
It was originally
I
the
don't
same
think
lap,
so.
was it not? I think they did 8-8 both of them.
I'm not sure. Like, look, Kraft's are more worn than Marion's.
Yeah, she came in to pit for the Inter and then chose the slick because the sun was announced. So yeah, she is currently definitely.
Nandi's actually under 2 seconds behind them right now. It's not a bad gap, but of course Kraft isn't fighting Marion here. If he was, that would have played into Nandi's advantage significantly. He's got fresher tires here, and he's just looking to do anything he can, just drive as perfectly as he can. But in the end, it might not be enough anymore.
He tried so hard, and he got so far. We'll have to see if it matters in the end, because Kraft is slipstreaming Marion here. You have to remember as well, Hernandi is on a very slightly fresher soft. I believe there is literally 2 laps difference from Kraft's soft to Marion's soft to Hernandi's soft. They're all within that tiny window thanks to the pure chaos thrown up by the rain. But Marion, as we head into the final 2.5 laps of this race, is our race leader. Kraft on a very slightly older tyre is slipstreaming in second place. He is eyeing up a potential first victory. A victory here for Marion would all but wrap up her championship. I mean, maybe even mathematically wrap up the championship. Is that possible? I think so. What's her gap?
Let me just...
She has 17 points
the gap
over
is
Hernandi.
yes.
She needs to outscore him by
17 points over
14.
Hernandi.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, she's gonna gain only 8 points on him, but as pretty much
Yeah.
certain as
Final
long as she wins the next
lap.
race.
Final lap here at Vancouver. Kraft will have essentially 2 opportunities to get that overtake done. He needs to just tuck into the slipstream. Sobel a lap down on his championship contender. How poetic is that? Will Kraft go? He goes to the outside into the left-hander here. One final chance up into the final corner. Will he go for the overtake? Will he try and get the better run to the line? He tucks in behind Marion, but I don't think he'll be enough. Marion wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Kraft by 1/10 of a second takes second. Hernandi will sit in third position, completely screwed over by the rain. 2 extra stops than the drivers ahead and behind him. It's Corvid in 4th place. Nuno took 5th for Scuderia Paracaro, their highest finish since winning the Singapore Grand Prix last season. The man who did it, JT, finished 6th ahead of Danimator. Figueroa with a fantastic debut for SCP. Great points for them. I stole these words in 9th ahead of Anti, then it was Matimar and Giruni, Grandi, and we'll read out the rest of the grid here. Enigma behind, then Gwetzley and Sobel, who finished P16, which is 2 points, but took the fastest lap of the race. That's an extra one. Ahead of Gorlomi, who on his debut finished just over a second ahead of Urist in last position. So there you have it.
Yes, some important things to note. Matty Mars, I believe, best ever finish P11. I don't think I'm wrong with that, right?
That sounds about right, yeah. Great finish from Matty. Really, really fantastic stuff. So, great race for FGR.
Yep. SCP, amazing race for them. Sobel, P16, LSA, it's basically FGRs have nearly sealed it here. And it'll come to Suzuka to claim their trophy, I think. But Kraft at the end there, on the final straight, I think he was looking for a move on the inside, but Marion expertly covered it off, and there was just not enough time to make a move round the outside of the final straight. Really difficult, and in the end, it was a victory for Marion.
Yeah. So coming into this race, FGR had a 28-point lead over LSA. You can see that Marion has outscored Hernandi by, I believe it's 8 points first to third. Corvid took 19 for second, and Sobel will only taken 3. So that's another 16 points. Add 16 and 8, 24, and add that to their 28 point advantage. 52 points? I think they've almost clinched it there. I think they are 4 points away from having won the Constructors' Championship. If Corvid had gone past Hernandi, somehow, don't know. But if he had, that would have been the Constructors for FGR, but it will, as it stands, come down to the final race. They will need an absolute shocker to lose it. But still all to play for in both titles, even with one side heavily advantaged. Whoopsie. We'll get back into the voice chat now and might do some quick interviews if we can. So I'll just very quickly be hopping over there and seeing who wants to chat. Right. Give us a second.
What a great championship for her. She earned it.
Let's do some interviews.
Here we go.
We're back.
Now he's here to do interviews.
Hell yeah, buddy. Well, go on, Gwetz. We'll start with you then. P15, a bit disappointing after last race, but what were your expectations today, and did that match it?
My expectations were pretty low, but it was quite entertaining. I had good rain, which sadly didn't pay out that much because the pit is very short. And yeah, I went for, on the fake rain, I went for softs, and that fitted my strategy perfectly, but I didn't even gain a position for that. So
well, still, good rain is always good. We'll go to Corvid next. It was a P4 for you in the end. I think you did get helped out quite substantially by the rain. Yeah, how was the race for you, man?
Pretty good. I tried to offset my strategy to everyone. I ran the softs really long. I just wanted free air, really. And I feel like the strategy was good. Obviously, it was going to go up and down with how I was trying to avoid an extra stop, but the rain came at a decent time. I could have hoped for it to be better, but I'm not gonna be upset about a P4. I'm very happy with that. And Marion winning by a hair, I think that's amazing for the team. We've almost gotten the double now, so I'm just extremely happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was in the end 4 points. I think was all the extra that you needed to have taken the championship today. So you are very much on the brink there, man. No, it's all going to be there in Suzuka. We'll have to wait and see. We'll go next to, I'll save the our P2 man for the very last, if that's all right. We'll go next to Nuno, who, on your return today, man, it was P5 in the end on a cold, rainy Sunday night in Vancouver. How did that one feel? 5th place, obviously, not your normal lofty standards, but for a first race back, go through it.
Well, I think everyone knows it was a complete shit race. A lot of crashes at the beginning. I really bad qualifying as well, but who cares? I mean, I came to here just to literally race, and I have no targets at all. What can I even do considering what I've did in the past? And so today was just to enjoy. Was extremely calm the entire time, despite everything was happening in this race. Also, I got screwed up by the rain twice again. So I guess I got the Central Park moment there, but anyway, in the end was fun. I think me and Figueira did an amazing job. First double top 10 for the team. We might actually be beating your team, Skip, so watch out for that.
Yeah. Great to see that. Yeah.
But it was fun to see. Can't wait for the Suzuka. I think it will be a very fun race. So yeah.
Aiming for the win there.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, I was obviously aiming for the win here. I have no doubts it would have been possible, but I need to have a good start, good quality, not getting screwed up by crashes and rain and all of that. But still, it is what it is. It's who cares, honestly.
Well.
So yeah.
Yeah. All in all, we'll see how that goes next time out in Suzuka. And finally, if I may, Kraf. It was a hair away. You stayed out in the fake rain. You got that lead. You tucked in behind Marion, but in the end, the overtaking opportunity didn't present itself. it just, yeah, that's got to be agonisingly close, man. If you are, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I'm still happy. I feel like I would have gone like P10. I was going to go for a P10. I did not feel good about the track. But I got really lucky in the qualifying, and I think that really helped me because everyone else behind was fighting in their own packs. And yeah, the rains also helped me a ton.
Yeah. Well, a maiden pole position there, and a bit of rain luck, but P2, highest career finish. I mean, that is pretty monumental, man. Well done.
Yeah.
Win next time in Suzuka?
I can't promise anything. I will try my best.
Sounds like you'll have to fight Nuno for it, so that's definitely something to look forward to.
Sounds fun.
Right, and I think that is just about it for today. What a fantastic race that was, filled with late drama, and Andy having that stolen from, well, defeat from the jaws of victory really for him there, but late rain and rain all race and lots of crashes, side-by-side action, very entertaining, and it'll be the season finale in Suzuka. So for now, it's goodbye from Kubo.
Goodbye.
Good to goodbye, and goodbye from me as well.